has the voice here, and I'm just exaggerating about the House not being yours. Don't write in, everybody on the press council. But everybody sort of realizes where this is all going with these sort of things. And you only get called a culture warrior when you wind up fighting back. And yet the real warriors, the real revolutionaries, are the ones on the left who are trying to change the way we operate so that they can be the ones in power. Alex.
James, that's the perfect summary. I don't know what I can add to that. You've absolutely nailed it. It is death by a thousand cuts. The salami strategy is spot on. We know how this works. These things start off as, oh, let's talk about recognition in the Constitution. And before you know it, it becomes, an entirely new chapter in the Constitution in line with a UN globalist, UNDRIP agenda. Look, Aussies are not going to be fooled by this. And I had the view 18 months ago that Aussies would work this out, even if the government, as they did, as this was building, weren't going to tell Aussies the detail, as they haven't. But I always had confidence that Australians would work this out, that they would be cautious with their constitution. We've had something like 44 referenda in our history, and only 8 have ever got up. So history is against us, or against those who speak for the Yes campaign. Obviously, I do not. Look, we really do have to say on this one, the SS Albanese is heading to Davy Jones' locker on the issue of the voice. And I think Aussies are going to deliver a Brexit moment to the corporate elites and to the smug political operators who think that they can just tell Aussies what to do, because this is divisive. It's the voice of division. And as Senator Jacinta Price always says, what Canberra needs are a set of ears, not actually a new voice.
Really? Well, let's hope you can talk a little bit of sense to your leader and get rid of this ridiculous notion of having another referendum under a coalition government for recognition. I think, that's going to be done and dusted with this time around. We don't want to have another divisive debate next term. But on other matters, Marise Payne is stepping down. There's a great deal of conjecture about who's going to replace her. She wants another moderate, someone like New South Wales, former New South Wales Transport Minister Andrew Constance. Warren Mundine is another name that's being bandied about. What do you think should happen to that Senate spot? Because we saw Jim Molan, who was a Conservative warrior, his spot ended up going to some small L Liberal. Are we going to see a factional fight within the Liberal Party when it comes to this election?
Well, thank you for pulling the pin on a Sunday morning grenade and handing it to me like a bunch of flowers, Rita. I appreciate that. It's a lovely moment for a Sunday morning. I don't even know what day it is. I don't seek to, and I really do mean this, I don't seek to, postulate about what the New South Wales division will do. But there are some great people floating around. I mean, Warren Mundine is one. And I'm just putting names out there. I haven't, sort of spoken to anyone about this. Catherine Deeves is another person who I'd love to see enter into the fight in Canberra. She's a brave woman who has a lot to offer as well. And there are many, many others. Dallas McInerney. There are lots of good people floating around in New South Wales, and I am sure, in order to now go back into my lane, that the pre-selectors of the New South Wales division will do us proud.
Well, a lot of great names there, and we'll just leave it at that as you sort of sit there with that ticking time bomb there. But in the meantime, I want to ask you one last question as an Adelaidean. There was talk this week. One of the half-dozen excuses we could find for Qatar getting knocked back was that they could had more flights in Adelaide. At the same time, they're apparently such a horrible human rights abuse that they shouldn't be allowed to fly. Did you feel like Adelaide was getting a bit of a diss there from the Albanese government, saying, oh, well, Qatar, they're not good enough for Sydney, but let him go off to Adelaide?
Yeah, well, I did. Yes, no, the Adelaide Airport is great. They do a great job, particularly the great people at security who I'll be seeing later on this afternoon, so be nice to me. I was just on that little free plug. Is a great airport, and of course, as is Canberra, as is all of the smaller airports that were named. But I mean, this really does highlight the absolute lack of private sector awareness of this government, to think that it's sort of all of a sudden commercially viable just to start flying into the smaller airports just because you can. I mean, the whole point of the exercise is that these airlines want to fly into the major airports, the Melbournes and the Sydneys and the Brisbanes and those sorts of things. And so just to dismiss this as well, you could fly into Port Lincoln, or you could drop an A380 onto, sort of the tarmac off the Isle of Fraser Island or whatever, I mean, This whole catastrophe. Look, we said ultimately that it wasn't going to be easy under Albanese. I don't think any of us understood after the voice, the high power costs, and the high interest rates, and now this sort of higher travel costs. This is going to cost $1 billion by some projections to the economy generally. I don't think any of us could have understood, in truth, how not easy it was going to be under Albanese. But this is just another reality check for the Australian people. We need to get a coalition government back into the lodge.
Alex Antic, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us to Play with Grenades on a Sunday morning.